then we will have another another draft that we can make it, and then we can enhance these discussions through our ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. We are here in Makassar. We have 7 o'clock here in Japan, 1 hour ahead, and in Hanoi or in Vietnam, 1 hour before in the same times. And then we have sessions with Professor Dr. Peter John Warner. I call him a sensei since he is a lecturer in Tohoku University, Japan. And we are here with Madam Dr. Ni Nguyen from Hue University in Vietnam. And after this, let her tell us or let us know the roughly information about the university. We open the sessions for those who are Muslim by reciting Basmalah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Tonight, we will have 1 sessions of educations in Asia. This is to celebrate the Day of Education here in Indonesia, since 2 of May is the Day of Educations in Indonesia. And then as the collaborative partner, BOLT, Balsamo Outreach Learning and Teaching, and Sensei Peter will let us know how the organization work. And the same times, I would like to introduce that we will have ASEAN Youth Forum on the next August in Maros, the city of the airport in Makassar, and from Makassar to Maros it's about 5 to 10 minutes. And then 2024 we will have the AWF in November in Tohoku or in Sendai. And then every one of us, for those who are interested to join in Maros or in Tohoku, and some other arrangement for Vietnam, and then you can see on the bolloutreach.org. Our discussions with Sensei from Japan and Dr. Nguyen from Vietnam about the educations in Asia, how the context of education here in Asia between Indonesia, Japan, and Vietnam. And the next session, we will have another friend of us to talk about Malaysia, Thailand, and other countries. The first times, 5 to 10 minutes, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Peter John Warner to have the brief introductions about the education in Asia in the context of Japan. And somehow he traveled a lot to Philippines and Vietnam. It might be a good one to listen to Sensei Peter about another country, not only in Japan, but in the context of Asia. Time is yours, Sensei.
Okay, well, I will basically I work at Tohoku University in the graduate school, and I've been, I will tell you a little bit about the education system in Japan. We have the 12 years of education before people start college, and the entrance into college here is very difficult for students because of the entrance exam. In fact, it's referred to as the exam hell because it's very competitive and many students don't get into a lot of the colleges they want to get into. The government has been trying to address that problem and make it available to more people so that more people can go to college. Basically, in the Japan system is structured around tests all the way up through high school and even in college. So basically students are taught how to learn through preparing for tests in the classroom or for preparing for tests to get into the high school of their choice or the college of their choice. And basically, a lot of students will cram or learn the knowledge for a short term, but actually in long term, the knowledge is not always retained because there is so much that is expected of these students on these exams, and they are emphasized so much. So basically, this is a system that is set up in Japan and causes stress for many students. And the government has put some measures into place, because when I first came to Japan 28 years ago, 30 years ago almost, we had 6 days of school that the children had to go to school, Monday through Saturday. And they had a very tight curriculum and very little time to relax, to try and make more time for the students to be able to relax a little bit more and reduce the stress. They did reduce the days. About 15 years ago, they dropped down to 5 days a week for all the schools, all the way from the 12-year schools up to the college. And when they did go to the 5-day system, this put a lot of stress on the teachers, because instead of just teaching the material within 6 days, they had to try and combine the material into 5 days. So this was a very trying time. And what actually ended up in many cases was many students, instead of going to school this 5 days, the parents, if the students were free at home, they didn't know what to do. So a lot of the parents actually put their children into what we call juku schools, special schools outside, and to keep their competition and keep the students at very high levels and have an advantage on the tests. So actually, the 5-day system did not really, I don't think it really accomplished what it was set out to do, because it put a gap and made it so the people who could afford the juku schools and pay for the extra education had a better chance of getting into college, while the people who could not afford to do the extra education, they went behind a little bit and many times did not perform as well on the tests. So this is a system right now. The juku schools still exist, and basically we still have 5 days a week for the schools. But a new development that has happened in Japan is, because of the cost of the schooling is so high, and many people cannot afford high school or college, the government about 6 years ago made high schools are all paid for almost for free. So so that everybody got through high school. The government started making it almost free, because it was very difficult for the parents to afford the tuition and that we had to pay for the schools. And now, right now, the government is talking about actually making colleges free and making it possible for everybody to attend college as long as they can pass exams and get inside. So these are the systems that have been developed. And as you mentioned, we have special type of activities inside the college that we provide, such as the Asian Youth Forum, which I offer to students who want to go abroad to Vietnam or Indonesia or wherever we're offering the Asian Youth Forum. And they actually interact with other students and hopefully build up their English skills while they are working there and get a better understanding of the culture at the same time. This is a part of education in itself, becoming more international and more creative, which is another thing that Japan has been trying to do, is make students more creative so that we can think towards the future and Japan as a whole can be prosperous. So this is basically a summary of what the system is in Japan and where we have been and where we've moved towards right now. I think that's about 10 minutes, I think.
Thank you, Sensei, for introducing how the perspective of Japanese school. I highlight point to point that Sensei Peter says that actually the fee is not the issue in Japan, but the burden one, how the heavy assignment, heavy curriculum for the students.
Yes.
And then how many days, Sensei? Is it
Well,
6 days or
no,
5 days?
it was 6 days a long time ago. Now it's 5 days, but the problem is that now on the 6th day, many students feel they are pressured to go to extra school outside.
Okay.
So they go to an extra private school to maintain a very high level and have a chance at the exams to get into college. So there's still a lot of competition between students for getting into the next level of junior high school, or college to get into the best school for their goal or what their parents actually want them to do.
Okay, hold a moment. We will listen to Dr. Nguyen from Vietnam, and then it might be a good one that Dr. Nguyen will introduce us how the Hue University, how a brief introduction about Vietnam, since maybe I'm wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong. Vietnam is a communist country, so they have a different situation with the another part of Asia, since like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and another countries in Southeast Asia mostly are in democracy or elections. But in the Vietnam, they have another system of the political party. They have the ruling party. The only ruling party is communist. But maybe Dr. Nguyen will elaborate how the situation or how the style or how the typology of the education in Vietnam. Time is yours, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Dr. Ismail, for your introduction. And hello, everyone. My name is Nhi, and the family name is Nguyen, so you can call me Nhi. And first of all, I'm very grateful for Mr. Peter John Warner to invite me to join the meeting today and talk to you about the education system in Vietnam. Currently, I'm working at the university about foreign language training and international studies in Hue City, which is in the central of Vietnam. But today I will share with you some information about the education system in general, from general education to higher education. So as mentioned by Mr. Ismail, so in Vietnam, I'm not sure about the other education system in other countries, but in Vietnam, education is a state-run system of public and private education. So it is run by the Ministry of Education and Training, or the MOET. And according to the law on education by Vietnamese government, we have 4 types of educational establishments, which is public education. This is established and monitored by the state. The state will invest in an infrastructure and also allocate the fund for different spending tasks of the institution. The second type is semi-public establishment. It is also run by the state, but with the joint contribution of social organization. And the third type is people-founded educational establishment. This is the education institution run by social or economic organization, but with the permission from the government to run the institution. The last type is private education establishment, and it is for individual or social group. And they will invest on the institution by themselves. The next task, the next thing I would like to share with you is about the structure of education system in Vietnam. It is quite similar to that of Japan. We also have different levels from preschool, from nursery and kindergarten year, like maybe 3 months old to 3 years old, and then from 4 to 5 they go to kindergarten. After that we have basic education. We have formal education and informal education. So formal education, we have basic education with 12 years, with a structure of 5, 4, and 3. 5 years for primary school from grade 1 to grade 5, 4 years for secondary school, grade 6 to grade 9 and 10, and then 3 years for high school, grade 10 to grade 12. And high school is very an important step for students in Vietnam, because at this stage, after finishing this level, they will take an important exam to university. Before, it was 2 different exams. It was the National High School Graduation Exam and then University Entrance Exam. But recently in 2015 or 17, I don't really remember well, but these 2 exams were merged into one, so it's less burden for them. Also, like it is also like in Japan, we also have like competitive curriculum, which is quite overloaded for the students. And before we carry out educational reform in 2018 with the new curriculum. Before that, the curriculum was focused more on knowledge training, and it's merely about knowledge. But after 2018, it is now more focusing on developing not only the knowledge for the students, but also the skills and capacities on different things in life. And also, the teaching method also has been changing in Vietnam too. Before, it was like teacher-centered approach, which means the teachers giving the lecture, and the student would listen to the teachers and write down what they hear. But now it is more student-centered, and students are given with the task, and it is task-based learning, and which makes them to be more criticized and to think about different how to solve different problems by themselves, and from which will develop their own skills. Also, another change in Vietnamese education is that before 2018, and for the old curriculum, we have only one textbook for the whole nation. So if you are in grade 12, if I have a sister, I use the textbook and I can have that textbook to my younger sister to use that again, because we only have one textbook for the whole country, and it is can use again the next year. Because at that time, textbook is considered to be the only material for teaching and learning. But now it is changing, and textbook is not only resource. We can only just use other, and that's why there are more textbooks being used. And for one grade, you can choose a different school can choose from different textbooks to use in your school. One last change is in the administration of education. Before, it is more centralized. I mean, the government will administrate the education system in the whole country, but now it is decentralized to the local authority. They have more power to decide on certain issues in education. But still, like Mr. Peter John said, in Japan, even though with the reform, the education system, in the education system, I still see with many students that it's still quite lots of knowledge for them to deal with. We also have 7, like from Monday to Saturday for school. And besides the main class, many parents in Vietnam are also having the children to have extra classes as well. So if they have main classes in the morning, they can go to extra classes in the afternoon and in the evening as well. Many of them don't have free time to enjoy different activities. And because of the heavy knowledge, I think, and also it is also because they study for the exam, they study for the test. So they try the best to get high score because they will go to more prestigious university or they will go to more prestigious high school. And that is for general education. And because I'm working at the university, I will tell you a bit more about higher education. In Vietnam, we are moving to more university autonomy. It means the university is now encouraged to be dependent from the government regarding the finance, curriculum, academics, or personnel. So it is a good, it is both challenging and also an opportunity to develop, to improve the quality of the training at the university, because they want to attract more students to come to the university. Then they need to improve the teaching quality. Yeah, basically it is something like that to share with you. If you have any more further questions, I may answer to the best of my knowledge, because actually I'm not really a specialist on education who will do research on the field on daily basis, but that is based on my knowledge about the education in Vietnam. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. Somehow we have the same issue from Japan to Vietnam. How about the heavy time for students, and they have a lot of subject to do, and then in fact the situations for the students, they don't have a lot of time to play because they have the additional material to learn. And then another case that in the university or in higher educations, the government of Vietnam encourage university or higher educations to have the autonomy, and then the wider mandate from the ministry to do a lot of things. I highlight the both of things from the Japan situations and the Vietnam situations. Before I invite a friend of us to write down any kind of comment, questions, would you like Sensei Peter to extend the explanations? What is the outsider of you to see the higher education or university in Vietnam?
Okay, I didn't talk a lot about higher education in Vietnam. Basically, I work in the graduate school. So actually,
Okay.
I oversee master's and doctor students. I would say that for in Vietnam, I'm not sorry, Vietnam, in Japan, most master's or doctor students who actually get into the program usually will graduate within the 3 to 4 years, whichever plan they take. And so the graduation success rate of master's and doctor students is actually quite high. I would say it's probably 90%. And this is probably because the professors work very hard or are expected to make sure that the students are able to succeed. Whereas in comparison to America, the success rate of people graduating is much lower. So in Asia, I think we probably, at least in Japan, there's a much more success rate for students actually graduating with a master's or doctor's program. And likewise, the same goes for the undergraduate school here also. So this is just a regular expectation in Japan. So professors actually have a lot more professors, high school teachers, or whoever's teaching has a lot more stress actually placed on them, because we are expected to make sure that everybody is able to complete the course and graduate. So sometimes we have to do extra work or do extra things to make sure that we can accommodate those students who are having difficulties. Where in other situations, in other countries, those students just may fall through the cracks because the teachers don't have the time to spend or make the time for them. Here we have to make the time for them in Japan. This is it can be a good thing in the sense that more students are succeeding, but it's also very stressful on the teachers who are actually trying to teach very large classes with over 40 students in a class. It's very difficult to actually succeed because we did have smaller classes, I'd say around 30 students per class by about 10 years ago. So about 20 years ago to 10 years ago, my average classes were about 30 students. But now, as universities are getting less money and having to cut back on faculty to pay for the finances, and the economy is getting worse, now my regular class is up to 50 students per class. And so the class load is much higher. So as teachers, we have to figure out ways to actually accommodate a larger class and actually teach a larger number of students the same amount of material that we could do with maybe a limited class of only 30 students. So these are challenges for us as well as challenges for the students, because the students also don't get as much time in the class to actually ask questions or even show their abilities to understand or perform in the class. The teacher has less time to actually see what the abilities are of those students and has to make evaluations based on the limited time that they do actually have with those students. These are challenges that we are dealing with in college. And the other thing that we have that has changed, as I said, about 8 to 10 years ago, there was more acceptance of subjects that are, how would I say it? In the liberal arts subjects were more common, but now the government is placing more emphasis on technical subjects or subjects that can be actually applied in the work field much more, and applying more money towards those areas than they are towards the liberal arts. So this has placed a burden on the liberal arts programs such as literature or music or other areas like that are very difficult to maintain, because the status and the possibilities of actually getting work in those areas after you graduate is very difficult. So the government is trying to put more emphasis on technology and those type of jobs that are available to the new generation as we become more technologically advanced and prepare for the future. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Sensei. Ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing about the general issue of education in Asia. If you can join our collaborative research, feel free to send me here in the chat box your email and your WhatsApp, and then we can have the Google Doc to start to write together paper or any kind of the publication about our discussions tonight. Bapak, Ibu, Saudara-saudari, silahkan diketikkan email, nama, dan juga afiliasi perguruan tinggi jikalau Bapak Ibu ingin menyertai penelitian kolaboratif bersama dengan Jepang dan Vietnam. Dari Jepang sendiri adalah Tohoku University, sementara dari Vietnam Hue University. Sensei, would you like to a brief introduction about our next program, even somehow in Maros and another one in Sendai or in Tohoku, and another one in Vietnam. Time is yours, Sensei.
Okay. All right. Basically, okay. I am the founder and the main organizer for both. So I will summarize what we are actually doing right now. I've been working in the organization for over 14 years. And basically what we do have coming up is in August, we are going to have our first AYF again. We've had up to 26 Asian youth forums since 2005.
27 Asian Youth Forum.
This one that's coming up will be the 27th. The one
Yeah,
that's coming up is
27th,
27th. So we've had 26 so far. And so basically I've been active in most of them over the past 20 years. But basically the Asian Youth Forum will be in Maros, and basically we'll be talking about the area of environmental. The theme of the AYF is environmental issues, how we're actually dealing with the environment to protect it, environmental sustainability. And so students will be actually getting into groups and discussing about the environment, besides doing practice with language, or also doing other activities. And they will learn their own language, as well as they will be communicating mostly in English the whole time. So basically, this opportunity is 1 week experience where students have an intensive interaction with other cultures, and we try to bring as many cultures together as possible. So we open it up, and we have had people from Russia, China, Thailand, Taiwan, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, many countries we have in Asia all participate in this. It may be only 2 or 3 students from each of those countries, but still it's a very, usually a very large mixed group of students. So we get a lot of discussion, and these people actually become friends, and they stay friends for a long time. So they may go to the other country and visit there later, or follow up. So it's a very special experience for if you know of anybody who would be interested in experience like this, I highly recommend it. The other 2 conferences we're holding this year, we do have 2 conferences online. One in October, an education conference, which everybody is more than open to apply to. Basically, send in your abstract, and we will be having it over 3 days. So the following one in November will also be online. The reason we're doing online this year is because we usually have the Tohoku University International Seminar is usually held here at Tohoku University, but the university is sort of extending till the end of this year to be safe with COVID. They really don't want to start up the face-to-face conferences on the campus yet. So, but 2024, we are planning on having back to face-to-face conferences in the next November of 2024, and we will be posting the exact dates, as well as having an AYF joining that conference. So we will get those details up as we make them clearer when we have the exact dates and more details. But the main conferences for 2023 are AYF in Indonesia, which will be the only AYF this year. And we will have the 2 conferences online. Finally, I would just say next year in 2024, we have a large program planned. We're hoping to have Asian Youth Forum in Vietnam, Indonesia, and Japan. We're hoping to have it in at least 3 countries in 2024, and becoming more active again. Okay.
Thank you, Sensei. Ladies and gentlemen, beside our AYF for this year, coming August, we will have another joint semester start from 7th of May. It will be every Sunday. It will be 1.5 hours a program. together with a semester. As the semester means that it will be 16 weeks, and then we will have the interaction between student and lecturers. We invite every one of us to send our student to join this joint semester on the subject of academic. The name of the subject is English for Special Purpose, English for Academic Writing. And then I would like to invite once again Dr. Nguyen to let us have the extensions of the how actually the situation in higher education in Vietnam, since right now we have the frontier of many countries. At the same times, there is the issue of development, there is issue of international student, international program, and how actually the Vietnamese connect to friend of us in Japan, since we work close with the Sensei Peter, and then somehow if we have ASEAN Youth Forum, I do participate in Japan, in Tokyo, and in Russia, in Vladivostok. And then we have a good participation from Vietnam. And another question maybe, how the Vietnamese see the involvement of the international international activities to enhance the ability or the learning outcomes. Maybe you have idea, Dr. Nguyen, please.
Yes, thank you. So I can say that international cooperation for education development is an important issue in many higher education institutions in Vietnam. So I will take my university as an example because I don't really know clearly about other universities, but I see many, they are representative of international university in Vietnam, like RMIT or Cambridge. No, like, but they have brands, they have campus in Vietnam. Also, we have from Vietnamese institution, we promote international cooperation with many university or organizations, national, I mean globally, and we have connection with Dr. Peter Werner through AYF program. 2 times, Dr. Peter, or 3 times?
Actually, with 3 times, three times you've had it there already.
Also, we also worked with him via TAT joint teacher helping teachers program, which gave seminars on language teaching for many years, like for 10 years. Also,
Yes.
we have connection with many universities in Thailand, in Japan. We do not have connection with university in Indonesia yet, but if possible, I would like to connect with the university, and that is to cooperate in student exchange program, to send our students to abroad for short-term training program, for like one-year training program, or for internship, teaching practicum. And we also receive international students to do the same thing at our university as well. We have like connection with actually many universities, and it is also, I think it is also very important now when we move to university autonomy, because when we strengthen the international exchange, we can learn from the good practice from our international partners, and we apply it to our university into our case, and also academic exchange, collaboration in research to find out the most updated, for example, teaching method, or not, and in other field as well. But for us, it is at the a university of foreign languages is about teaching method. Yeah, and so I believe international cooperation is very much concerned in Vietnam, in higher education in Vietnam.
And the focus is university is only about the language teaching.
Yeah, my university is only about language. We have English, French, Russian, Korean, Japanese. So it is like a specialized about language.
Okay, and then what languages do you have? Is it a focus on the European side or American side and not Asia, or how is it the picture?
Can
I mean the language. It is only English, for example, or French, but you have another language like Japan, China, or even Indonesia, because since Indonesia has a good number of speakers.
Yes. Well, actually, if we want to have a new training program, we need to prepare carefully and apply what is quite a complicated procedure to apply for the permission to run that program from the government, from the Ministry of Education and Training. So currently we have English as the biggest major, like the most popular major in our university. Then we have French, Russian, Korean language and culture, Japanese language and culture. We are planning to have Germany and Thai language, but it is still in the process. We also have international studies and basically study American study. And we offer Vietnamese language to foreigners. And so we also receive some Chinese as well. We also receive students from Thailand, Laos, or China to our university to learn Vietnamese, and we are allowed to organize the test to have the certificate for them, for foreigners. I mean, the certificate of Vietnamese for foreigners.
And how about the French language?
French, actually, it was more developed before than now, because students graduated from French department hardly find good job, so less of them enroll in that major, and now it becomes like there are less students enroll in that department actually.
So most of the language is English.
Yeah, we have different faculties: faculty of English, faculty of French and Russian, faculty of Chinese. But the majority, I mean, the large number of students are for English.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nguyen. We are coming to last part of our panel tonight or this evening. I'm invite once more to Sensei Peter to let us know how the language teaching in Japan. Since I see you can have another data, if I'm wrong, that most of the lecturers or the teacher of English in Japan, they are coming from the native speaker. So somehow the students are shy to speak English, and then most of them say my English is not good because they compare their English to their teacher or their lectures, because the lecturer and the teachers are coming from the US, coming from another country, Canada, since English is the first language. Do you have any comments, Sensei?
My comment would be basically, it's not just the fact that students are listening to a native teacher of English, or actually see a Caucasian person actually teaching them English, that really matters, because I would say that Japanese are introduced to English at a very early time. And actually we have many foreigners coming in to Japan in the classrooms and speaking with children from elementary school onwards. The government spends a lot of money on this. They have for the last 20 years, but they actually emphasize the culture more in the classroom. So the students are just learning basic hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Very basic phrases that they can actually say, because the foreign teachers in these schools only go to the classroom maybe 3 or 4 times, and they don't go regularly in most schools, because the way the system is, they usually have the teachers in the elementary or the junior high schools rotate in some fashion from one class to another, because they don't have enough for all the classes. And basically they work with the Japanese teachers. They work with the Japanese teachers in the classroom. Now, yes, the Japanese, how would I say, characteristic is to try and do something perfectly, like you say. The Japanese character is to try and perfect something before you actually do it. And if you don't perfect it, then you don't want to actually try and speak out, because you haven't perfected it yet. And so the biggest difficulty is to try and get students to accept that mistakes are okay and that it's not a problem. The only way you're going to learn is to make mistakes and to practice over and over in Japan. It's changing slowly, but eventually it will change. But the last thing I'd like to say is that despite the fact that there are many more foreign teachers teaching from elementary school all the way up through high school and college in Japan than there are in other countries like Vietnam. I would say that the pronunciation of many of the Vietnamese students is better than the pronunciation of Japanese students who are actually listening to native speakers like myself in Japan. And the reason I would say is because you don't have to be American or Canadian to have good English pronunciation. Certain countries practice pronunciation by doing exercises from textbooks or tapes, and those teachers become very good at pronunciation themselves. One of the biggest problems in Japan is that many Japanese teachers cannot learn pronunciation effectively in English as quickly or as well as teachers in other countries. And I would say this is a case for Vietnam. I do believe that many Vietnamese have much better pronunciation than many Japanese teachers that I know. But this is just from my perspective of going between the two countries. So I would say it doesn't have to be American. It could be a Filipino, as they're doing in Thailand. In Thailand, it's mostly Philippine teachers that are teaching English in Thailand. As long as they're coming from a country where whoever is teaching it, no matter what nationality they are, if they have a good pronunciation, I think that students will be able to pick up that pronunciation.
Okay, thank you, Sensei. This is the last question to Dr. Nguyen. Before I invite Dr. Nguyen once more, I would like to invite friend of us from Indonesia, Bapak Ibu, jikalau ada yang berkenan bergabung untuk penelitian kolaboratif bersama Vietnam dengan Hue University dan Jepang dengan Tohoku University, silahkan ketikkan email, nama lengkap dan afiliasi universitas untuk kita buat satu Google Docs dan kita mulai menuliskan bersama-sama persiapan publikasi dari diskusi-diskusi kita. At least we will have regularly discussions about this education in Asia once a month to try to extend to finding data through the focus group discussions. One more questions, Dr. Nguyen. How the situations in Vietnam, since you have a good border in Ho Chi Minh, you have a border with Cambodia, and in Hanoi, you have a border with Laos and another side of China. It might be through this border, there is a need of the what is the language to speak, because Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, they have different languages since they have their national language. Okay, Dr. Nguyen, time is yours.
Yeah, so you mean the border with these countries, how it will affect to the teaching and learning of the language of the neighbor countries, right?
Yes.
Well, actually, we are bordered with China, Cambodia, and Thailand, but I can say it may be right for the people living near the border that they need to study the language, but it is the need of trade of going abroad to study or going abroad to work that they will learn the language. And the most popular language that it is the international language, English. Everybody is using it. So English is also the very popular language nationwide. From like it is also the same like it is in Japan. From primary school and even kindergarten, they have foreign teachers teaching English, like together with the native language as well. And also in the training program for high school, we also have some other languages as a second foreign language for students to choose from. And most of them are, so we have English, French, and then we have Chinese. Chinese is also in the training program, and Japanese, an optional course. And I don't know about in how it is in Hanoi or in Ho Chi Minh, but we don't have Thai language in the training program, even at higher education institution in the central of Vietnam yet, even though we are bordered with Thailand. So we are connected to many Thai organization and institution, but the main language that we use is English.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Nguyen. Thank you, Sensei Peter. Since that this is the early discussion with us about the topic of the education in Asia, we can extend this opportunity to the next month, since we have this year 2 online conference. The first one is International Conference on Language Teaching. It will be 8 to 9 of October, and then we will have another one 3 to 5 of November. It will be Tohoku University Interdisciplinary International Seminar. Then we have opportunity to present our chosen topic that will come up with this idea. At least we already start this one, and then we have a good panel for this evening or this tonight. Thank you. I would like to say thanks to Dr. Nguyen, to Peter Sensei that allocate time for our discussions, and then we will start, at least to have the literature review, how actually the issue of the education in Asia, and then we can have a lot of things to discover, and then we have the progress, progress of this topic. And everyone, for those who are joining us both of a platform in a Zoom meeting or in YouTube, and I would like to thanks to everyone. And then for those who are Muslim, I would like to invite to recite Hamdalah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, as the end of the session or the end of the panel. Again, thank you to Peter Sensei. Thank you to Dr. Nguyen allocate time for us. I do apologize if any kind of error or mistake during the facilitations of our discussions. And see you soon. I would like to say thank you, and if you like, feel free to extend the invitation of ASEAN Youth Forum to friends of us. The information are in the BOLT outreach.org, the informations, and then how it looks like, Sensei. Is it already available over there, or can you in 1 minute? Yeah.
But the BOLT outreach, if anybody wants to, we have a flyer, and also we have an application online. So if they go to boltoutreach.org, BOLTOUTREACH.org, if you'll go to the boltoutreach.org site, you can get all the information by just pressing the button, and you can fill out the application. If you have other questions, you can always write to me. My address is listed also on the homepage for you to write to me directly.
Okay. Would you like to write in the chat box, Sensei? If
Let me see if I can get it.
somehow
Hold on. Yeah, hold on.
anyone cannot,
Here. Let me
yeah.
get my
So
glasses.
it is in the website. Yeah. Everyone can go to the website and see the ASEAN Youth Forum for this year will be in Maros. We will have 2 conferences. It will be international language teaching, and one it's about Tohoku University Interdisciplinary International Seminar.
By this opportunity, I would also like to
Sure.
Yes.
advertise about an international conference at my university if you're interested in submitting. this.
Sure. If it is in online, Doctor, we are more than happy to get your informations. My contact over there in email, you can see and send me the informations.
And I'll put my address also for anybody that wants to
Sure.
contact. me.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see boltoutreach.org over there, and then the information about ASEAN Youth Forum, about our conference, the registrations is over there. So feel free to come up with the registration and distribute the information to your students. Thank you very much, and
Okay.
again, have a nice day, have a nice
my
evening to
address also.
everyone, and I end